1 minute. And if you are not able to attend the session, please inform me, okay? Because I have to plan my personal things, right? I'm waiting for you, and if you people are not joining, it's a uh, problem for me. Okay, please understand that. Okay, yeah. Let me start. Till now we covered 6 locators, right? ID, name, CSS, XPath, link name, and one more thing is called partial link name. So I explained you 6 locators, right? There are two more, tag name and class name, but those are not useful for finding single element. If you want to find more than one element at a time, you can use those two locators. In real time also we will use them on that purpose only. I will show you now. So by class name, okay. In so I have facebook.com, okay. Let me inspect few elements here. In all these elements you can see a common class name underscore 58mg. This is a class name, okay, for the first name field, okay. If I inspect surname field, in that also underscore 58mg is there. In email and mobile number, in that also underscore 58mg is there. So class name and tag names will be identical for most of the elements. If you wanna identify an element in unique manner, then you cannot use the class name or tag name, because with the class name and tag name you can easily find much matches. So we don't use it for unique identification, but if you wanna find so many elements at a time, and if you wanna do some operation on top of each and every element, then you can use that. You can use either by class name or by tag name. See this, in this example I am trying to find all the fields whose class name is equal to underscore 58mg, and I wanna type something into it. I wanna type same message FDS in all the fields, or hello in all the fields. So if I wanna do like that, I have a requirement like this. I wanna enter some value in all the fields. So if I try to identify each and every element by name, then it's difficult for me, right? I need to inspect each and every element, because this element name is first name and this element name is last name. So I need to inspect each and every element. I need to call send keys and I need to provide this thing. So if there are 5 elements, I need to inspect 5 elements, I need to find their names and I need to provide the value. If I have 100 elements, I need to spend a lot of time, right, to inspect each and every element. But if I know that in all the elements some same class name is there, in all the elements same class name is there, I can easily say, so there are 4 class name. Input text is a class name, 58mg is a class name, underscore 5db is a class name, underscore 2ph is a class name. Okay, I will choose one of them, underscore 58mg I'm choosing. Here, instead of calling driver.find element, there is one more method called driver.find elements. If I call find elements, that will return you a list of web elements. Find element means it will return you one element. If I call find elements with that identification logic, it will try to find as many elements as it can. Okay, so many elements it will find, and it will return you the list of web elements. After getting the list, there is something called iterator. If you call iterator method, that will return you an iterator object. On top of iterator, there is something called has next method. There is some method called has next that will return you true or false. It doesn't return you the next element, it will return you true or false. If the next element is there, it will return you true. If the next element is not there, it will return you false. You can see has next method in most of the cases. In set when I was explaining set, map and all, I explained this iterator method. And when I was explaining scanner also, we have seen one method, right? Has next line and next line. So has always return you either true or false. It will tell you whether the next element is there or not, and dot next will return you the actual next element. Okay, now see this. So I'm calling has next within while loop. That means it will iterate through each and every element in that list. Okay, and dot next will return me the actual element. So if I call next element, then only I will get web element. So on top of web element only you can get send keys method, right? Because you will do operation on top of a single element. You cannot do operation on top of entire list, right? So you need to iterate through each and every element of that list. So how can you iterate? Using iterator method. If you use iterator method, you will get an iterator object. On top of iterator, you have has next method. So you will keep that in while loop. And if you call next, you will get the actual next element, and we are calling send keys. And in each one of them, I don't want to enter the same value. I'm adding an index. Dev plus I. Here I initialized as 1. So let me initialize as 0. So I plus plus means it will become 1. So in the first element it will enter dev 1, in the second element it will enter dev 2, and in the third element it will enter dev 3. Like that it will go on. Okay, let me run this program now. See this. By using one identification logic, I am able to identify all the 5 fields and I am entering the value into it. Dev 1, Dev 2, Dev 3, Dev 4, Dev 5. How did I find that element? By class name. So instead of calling find element, if I call find elements, and if I call the class name which is common for all the elements, then all the elements will be identified and they will be stored in a list. Using iterator method, I can create an iterator object. On top of iterator object, I have 2 methods, as next and next. As next will tell me whether the next element is there or not, and the next method will give me the actual next element, and I will call send keys on top of it. That send keys will enter the text into it. And you need to understand one more thing. Instead of calling find elements, if you call find element with the same identification logic by class name, So with the class name we have so many elements, right? Sorry for the inconvenience. You're getting a lot of noise, right? Just wait for 2 minutes. So yeah, with this class name we have so many elements, right? So instead of calling find elements, if I call find element, what will happen means it will always return the first element in the list. If you take facebook.com, there are so many elements with this underscore 58mg. There are 5 elements. But if I call find element, it will find all elements, but it will return you always the first element in the list. It will always return you the first element in the list. If you call find element, sorry, it doesn't find all the elements. It will always try to find an element. After first occurrence, it will come out. Okay, it doesn't bother about remaining elements. If you call find elements, it will try to find as many elements as it can. But if you call find element, it will just find the first element. After that, it will return. It doesn't bother about the remaining elements with that class name. Okay, I will show you that also. See this. I use find element by class name. Okay, there are 5 elements, but this is the first element, right? That's why it found this element and it entered the text into it. Okay, like this it will work. So in most of the cases, by class name will be used to identify many elements. We don't use it to find an element on the page. It will be used to identify many elements using same identification logic. Is it clear for everyone, or do you have any doubts in this? Okay, good. Now by tag. So like by class name, by tag also used to identify so many elements with one identification logic. Okay. So let me open my blog. I just wanna find all the links in this page. Someone asked me, open a page and try to find all the links. How can you find a link? Means for all the links the tag name is A only. So if someone asks me to find all the links, and if someone asks me to print the link names of a page, how can I do that? Means I will simply open that page. So this is my page. I will simply open that. Okay, I will give the tag name as A. If I give the tag name as A, all the links within that page will be returned to us as the list. Okay, now I got all the links list. I got all the links list. Then I'm iterating them. So next will give me each link. So after getting the link, if I call get text, there is something, there is a method called get text. The purpose of get text is, I have already told you, if you inspect an element, this A is known as tag name, href equal to core java.html. This is known as attribute. Href is known as attribute name. Core java.html is known as attribute value. And this core java tutorial is there, right? This is known as text. So on top of web element, till now we saw only two methods, right? Click and send keys. Click will be used to click on that element, and send keys will be used to type something in it. If you call get text, that will return you the text of the element. If you call get text method, that will return you the text of that element. So if I find this element and if I call get text method, that will return me core java tutorial. Okay, so here what I am doing, I am finding all the links using their tag name, and I am calling current element at get text. So that will return me the link text, that will return me the text of each link. Okay, now let me run this program. See this core java tutorial. So first, these are all links only. Home java. If you inspect them, so this is also a link because the tag name is a, right? Link means the tag name is a, that is the meaning. So it found all the links. See this. One stop for tech talks. This is also a link. So everything is a link. So it found them one by one. So one stop for tech talks. Then home, Java, web, test automation, products, miscellaneous, about. Then what are the links we have? Core Java tutorial, data structures tutorial, Selenium automation with Java tutorial, JNE tutorial, TestNG tutorial, JavaScript tutorial, SAP ABAP tutorial, Salesforce developer tutorial. So what are the links we are seeing here? The same thing we are seeing in the console also. Okay. Then here Chanukya is a link. Like that, it printed all the link names. Okay. So like the tag name will be helpful for us. In some cases, you have to find all the elements using some identification logic. You have to do some operation on many elements at a time. In such cases, you will use either class name or tag name. You will just check the common behavior among all the elements. If they contain a class name in common, then you will use by class name and you will call driver find elements method. If you feel that for all the elements tag name is same, then you will use by tag name with driver find elements method. So this class name and tag name will be used to do some operation on top of many elements at a time. Okay, is it clear for everyone? Good. So with this we completed all kind of locators. Locators means the logic what we are using to identify the elements is known as locators. Okay, in few interviews people will ask this question: how many locators are there in Selenium WebDriver? Okay, the total number is 8. Okay, if they ask what are they, you have to tell them id, name, css selector, xpath, link text, partial link text, class name and tag name. And few people will ask you the priority order also, which is most preferable in all of them. Okay, if they ask like that, then you have to segregate in this way. To find unique element, we will use mainly 6. ID, name, CSS, XPath, link text and partial link text. Class name and tag name are there for identifying many elements at a time. So don't bother about class name and tag name. The priority will come among these 6 locators: link text, partial link text, ID, name, CSS selector and XPath. And you can remove these two also, link text and partial link text, because these two are there only to handle links. Okay, so that is also separate. Okay, so you will tell them that, so link text and partial link text also I will omit, because those are there only to handle links. Now we left with 4: id, name, css selector and xpath. Now the priority order is same only. First priority will go to id. After inspecting the element, if you have an id for that element, always find that element by id. Okay, if you don't find an element, if you don't find id for an element, then go ahead with name. If you don't find id and name, then go ahead with css selector. If you are not in a position to write css, then go ahead with xpath. Okay, so this is the priority order. Theoretically people will talk like this, but in between css and xpath, the performance difference is very low. That's why you can ignore about css selector. If you are good at writing xpath, then go ahead with xpath. But when compared to id, xpath's performance is very low. So if you have id, don't write xpath. But if you don't have id and name, you can choose one of them. You can choose either css or xpath. Okay, and few people will ask this also: why id is preferable, why id is preferable than xpath? The answer is, if you try to find an element by id, you can find it in much quicker time. Okay, that is the only reason. The priority order why people are following means, if you use id, then you can find the elements in much quicker time when compared to all other identification logic. When compared to css, using name, you can find it in much quicker time. When compared to css, when compared to xpath, using css, you can find it, the element, in much quicker time. That's why they have given this priority order: id, name, css and xpath. Okay, so these kind of questions you will get on locators. How many locators are there, what are they, what is their priority order, uh, why id is preferable or why css is preferable than xpath. If they ask why one of the locator is preferable than other, you have to tell them that due to performance. Okay, if you use that identification logic, you can find the element in much quicker time. That's it. They can compare anything. Why id is preferable, why id is preferable than name, why id is preferable than css, or why id is preferable than xpath, or why name is preferable than css, or why name is preferable than xpath. They can compare any two, but the answer is same. You will tell them that if I use name instead of xpath, I can find the element in much quicker time. That's it. And few people will ask these questions. They will give you a page, okay, like this. They will give you a page and they will ask you to inspect this element, okay, and they will ask you to write an identification logic for it. Okay, after inspecting, you will look at it. Okay, there is no id, there is no name. So you will tell them that, okay, I will identify this element using xpath, or I will identify this element using css, and you have to write the xpath or css in front of them. Like that also they will ask. In face-to-face interviews, people will ask these kind of questions. They will give you a web page and they will ask you to inspect it, and they will ask you to write the identification logic to find that element. So you need to prepare for all this. So we have 15 more minutes, so I will explain you few API in WebDriver. So in WebDriver we have only get method, right? So we learned three methods on top of driver. If you call get, a URL will be opened into the browser. If you use close method, browser will be closed. If you use quit method, then the process will be terminated. The Chrome driver process or IE driver process, they will be terminated. Okay. Apart from those three, we have so many other API. In the next sessions, we will try to learn those methods. Okay, what is the purpose of each method? I will try to explain with real-time example, and this is very important for you. If possible, maintain a notes, because if any one of you are planning to clear interviews, these are all very important, because in most of the LLM interviews, in the first round they will ask you the method names only. If I ask you to open an URL into the browser, what method you will call? If I ask you to close the browser, what method you will call? If I ask you to get the title of the page, what method you will call? Like that they will ask. Okay, so you should know the purpose of each and every method. If they ask the method name, you should be in a position to tell that. Okay, now we'll start. So driver.get we already have already known, so I'm not touching it. And find element, that method also we covered. Okay, if I ask you using which method you can identify element, you can identify a text box on the page, you have to tell them that I will use find element method. So find element also we have already covered. Now get current URL, the purpose of it is, I've opened softwaretutions.com, then I clicked on Core Java tutorial, then I clicked on June 2014, then I clicked on HTTP. So I've opened a web page, I navigated, okay, from one page to another page. After some time I lost, I don't know where I am, I don't know what is the current URL in the browser. What is the current URL in the browser? I don't know. If I wanna get that current URL, if I wanna get the current URL in the browser using a method, I have to call driver.getCurrentURL method. Okay. Now I will show you an example for that. So here I am calling driver.getCurrentURL method. So I used driver.get method. So the URL is launched into the browser. Okay. Now I have 5 links: chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4 and chapter 8. I have already mentioned, right, to handle links we have link text. So I am calling driver.findElement by link text and I am providing the text. What is the text? Chapter 1. So I provided it. Now I am clicking it. See this? Before clicking on it, I have this URL, book.theautomatedtest.co.uk. This URL is there within the browser. Clicked on it. See, chapter 1. Okay, now the URL changed to book.automatedtest.co.uk/chapter 1. That is my current URL. So if I wanna get that URL using the method, then I need to call driver.getCurrentURL. See this. Whatever you have within the browser, you are getting it here, right? So yeah, using getCurrentURL method, you can get the current URL within the browser tab. Okay, I can complete the test case using asset method. So I told you, right, we have asset.asset true to check whether we are getting a true value or not. Here what I am trying to do, driver.getCurrentURL contains chapter 1. So my test case is, someone asked me to test this page. How can I test that? How can I test this page? If I click on chapter 1 link, I should be navigated to chapter 1. How can I check whether it is navigated to chapter 1 or not? I can check for the text within the page, whether the page contains this text or not, whether the page contains this text or not. Like that I can check, or I can check the URL, right? If the page is navigated to chapter 1, definitely slash chapter 1 will be appended to this link. So by comparing the current URL also, I can check whether the page is navigated to chapter 1 or not. So I am writing the test case like this. I am clicking on it. After that, I am asserting it. Driver.get current URL that contains chapter 1. So if the current URL contains chapter 1, I can say that test case is passed, right? So I wrote the assert statement in this way. Assert true driver.get current URL that contains chapter 1. See, my test case is passed because it is navigate to chapter 1. So in the URL chapter 1 is there. So my test case is passed. In this way we can write the simple test cases. So in assertions, get current URL will be helpful for us. So what is the purpose of get current URL? If you call get current URL, you can fetch the URL within the tab. What is the current URL in the tab? You can fetch it using that method. Now get page source. What does it mean by page source? If you take any web page, if you right click on it, you will find this menu. Within the menu, you can see this option, view page source. If you click on it, that will return you the entire HTML of the page. If you click on a view page source, it will return you entire HTML of the page, due to which code we are viewing that page, that you can see using view page source option. Okay, so if I wanna see the page source, 1 minute. Yeah, so if you wanna get the page source through a program, then you will call get page source method. Okay, see this. So this is my page source, HTML, head, Selenium beginner's guide, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 8. Sorry, I navigated to chapter 1 also, right? So I have to this page source. So yeah, Selenium IDE, Selenium core, Selenium RC, Selenium grid. So this is my page source. The same thing I got here, right? So earlier we completed the test case using current URL. Whether current URL is navigated to chapter 1 or not, I am checking and I am completing the test case. Using get page source also I can complete the test case. Okay. If I call get page source, I can get entire text what I have within the page, right? So if the page is redirected to chapter 1, I can this text should be present to be used after Ajax section of the book. So this text is there, right, to be used after the Ajax section of the book. This text won't be there within the home page. If the page is redirected to chapter 1, then only within the page source I will have it, right? I will have this text, right? So I can check whether the text is there or not. If the page is redirected, definitely the text will be there within the page source. So now I am writing the test case in this way. Assert.assert.true driver.get page source that contains to be used after Ajax section of the book. Using this also I can complete the test case. So like that uh, get page source and get current URL. These are all there for assertions only. If you are working in a website and if you wanna check whether you redirected to some page, you can use any one of these methods. Get page source or get current URL. Get current URL will return you the URL, current present URL within the tab, and get page source will return you the page source of the page. See this, I'm pressing F8. The test case is passed. If the test case is passed, I will get a green mark here. And the third one is get title. So title means whatever you are seeing here, that is known as title. This is known as title. So if you wanna get a title of the page, you can get it using get title API. You can get it using get title method. Okay. If you look at the page source of it, you can get it within title tag. Whatever you are seeing within the title tag is in the title tag, that will be displayed here. Selenium column beginners guide. So if you wanna get the title of it using the method, you need to call driver.getTitle method. See this, I've opened this site. Okay. So what is the title? We have Selenium column beginner guide. This is the title we are seeing, right? So if I call driver.getTitle method, I can get the same. Selenium column beginners guide. So yeah, we learned three methods today. So we learned two locators, class name and tag name. They will be used to identify many elements at a time. Apart from that, we learned three more methods on top of driver. Get current URL, that will return you the present URL in the tab. Get page source will return you the page source of that page. Get title will return you the title of the page. Okay, that's it for today. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Is it clear for everyone? Good. Now I will give you an exercise. Forgot to tell you, this is the right site for you guys. Okay. If you get some free time, open this URL. It contains very few elements. Go to each and every page and try to do something within it. Okay. You have in the home page, you can click on all those 5 links and you can type something into it. This is a text box, right? So inspect it. This element contains some ID, so you can find it and you can type something into it. Okay. Okay, typing something into it is the last thing. Okay, so first open the page, navigate to chapter 1. Okay, click on this radio button. You don't know how to handle select boxes, then leave it. Okay, this is the checkbox also, if you click on it, so for radio button, for checkboxes also, if you wanna select them, you need to call click method only. Identify this button, just click on it. Identify this button, just call click method, then it will be clicked. Then identify this button, click on it. Okay, the identify this element, type something into it, click on this button. Like that, try to identify everything. Then write a program to click on chapter 2. Within the chapter 2 you have so many buttons, right? Try to identify these buttons, try to identify them using IDs. Even you have ID, try to identify them using XPath, try to identify them CSS. Okay, if you take this website, see this book.the automated tester, this is the website which is designed only for Selenium beginners. Okay, so if you get free time, take this website, try to identify all the elements and try to do whatever you can on top of the elements. We know how to click on the elements, we know how to type something into it, right? So if you find any link or radio button or checkbox or button, identify that, find that element and click on it. If you identify any text field, identify that and type something into it. Like that, practice much on this website in initial days. Then after getting some experience, you can work on some real-time websites. Okay, is it clear for everyone? Practice that in your free time, just practice.